All right, well, how about we get to the final scene of this book before we wrap up with the scorecard and our judge a cover by the book discussion. What do you think about the build up to recruiting the snipers? Because I think there's both Nizar Katan and then there's that other sniper. Where was he from? The Chechen. Yes.
Yeah, because they wanted to peg it on this idea of, the Chechens, the Ukrainians are all involved in separatists involved in killing the Russian, and then that's why the attack would make this entire place like inhabitable for like 25 years. They said if the Novichok actually got out, like that was freaking crazy. Because it's in the middle of, are they in Kiev or no? They're in Odessa. They're in Odessa
on the southern coast. Yeah. So they're on the Black Sea.
But still, a major seaport, right? If you had essentially blocks of this area that couldn't be inhabitable, that would be a major ramification.
Devastating.
Yeah, once we get to this part, right, where they're, liaising with the Secret Service, I really enjoy this. I almost felt like I was with, a Brad Thor novel, because the Secret Service is involved, and they're going around trying to figure out, where would these snipers be? They think about all the different places, and they're like, we have a perimeter, to the area where the farthest shot would possibly be. And then finally, Reece sees this one ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
How far out is that ship? I'm like, no, that's really far out, but maybe that can happen. Let's look at that. I don't know. This is where the action really kicks in. I guess there's been a little bit of action up until this point, but this is where the most of the action we get in the novel.
Yeah.
And I love the scene where we've already gotten just the fact that the freaking Russian president dies. And, I love a novel that actually executes its, the attack actually either happens somewhat or happens completely. So that was cool. And then when we're in the fallout, he realizes that, wait, it's not just the assassination, it's also this other attack, when they're going to the catacombs. Again, I mentioned that, I didn't quite buy into the reversal of the fans and shit like that. But the action leading up to that, his gunfight with the guard who's posted on the catacombs, that was really cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed this final, fourth of the book.
Yeah, for not having a lot of action throughout the book, it's pretty cool leading up to the sniper shot, setting the stage with the two presidents, Ukrainian president, American president, at this summit, this meeting. I think the build up to that's cool, and the execution of it is great. And to go into a little more depth, it was a really crazy plot, that the way they set up the shipping container, and they put this screen to make it look like the shipping container was closed, but they could still take the shot through the screen. And also how both the two trained snipers, Nizar and the Chechen, knew exactly how much their shots could miss by, so they both were going to shoot the same target.
Right.
And meanwhile, the American president was going to be targeted by a third sniper who was part of the advance team, who was actually supposed to be giving Overwatch to the Secret Service and all of their allies. And
for the Russian president, yeah.
And the Russian president, right. And that's who Freddy climbs up the roof of that building, ends up fighting with and taking out. And so Freddy actually saved one of the presidents. It ends up being the American president, right? Because the Russian president was killed.
No, yeah, because so the guy that Freddy kills was supposed to be the guy to take out the American president.
Right.
And then he was supposed to be taken out by Nizar.
Right.
To make it look like, and I think because he had some involvement with, he was friends with somebody, it was all set up that his backstory would lead, again, if he got caught.
To cover his tracks, to kill the two others working with him.
And so, remember, he, at one point, Nizar, looks to the sights and sees a guy kneeling. He's like, wait, why is he kneeling? He's supposed to be prone, whatever in his position. He's like, oh, whatever, I guess, and so he takes him out. And that scene is so gut-wrenching. Oh. I freaking cried. Like I rarely cry when I read books, but I was emotional like reading that because I love Freddy as a character and I wanted him to be in the next couple novels because he's brought up in The Blood as a ghost. Remember we had those freaking ghost apparitions in The Blood, and I liked like the relationship that seemed that James had with Freddy, and I was hoping that I didn't put two and two together that this is the reason why he hates Nazar Katan and like all right. And then finally it clicked. I was like, oh shit, Freddy's about to die.
Remember when Reece gets news of that while he's doing the whole cave thing with the fan or whatever, or at the end of the mission when everything calms down, he's like, so where's Freddy?
He couldn't get a hold of Freddy.
Yeah, that was gut wrenching. And dude, we were saying we liked how the backstories were fleshed out. Let's talk about Freddy's family, his wife and son.
I know.
That just makes it all the more heartbreaking. But what a cool gesture. Do you remember when, I think, how many was it? 5 million or 15 million?
It was like 4 point something million.
4 something million. And he puts it in a trust fund for Freddy's son so that the wife and son are taken care of and all his special needs can be addressed for the rest of his life, and so that's the least he can do for losing his friend. But and then guys, another level of this is for those who don't know about Jack's personal life. He does have a son with a similar genetic disability who's also going to need one-on-one support for his life. And the way that's written on the page, you could tell, is just so meaningful to Jack. It's personal.
Yeah.
And Freddy, the way he talks about his family is just something different. He says, we just continue to do whatever it takes for him to be able to lead the best life with the best potential for what he's capable of. And that's what we're committed to. It's whatever it takes, And James admires Freddy for that. And it's just so cool that when we lose him, it makes it hurt all the worse.
Yeah, and it's something that James obviously thinks about going forward, right? Because he brings up his son in The Blood. It's not something that's lost on James. And it's something that's going to be a part of him for years to come. So, Freddy's... I want to say he's my winner, like if I didn't have a different winner, but he would definitely be like Absolutely. For my free space, my winner for this novel.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of winners, let's get to the scorecard. Let's see how this book holds up, how it ranks.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention at the top, we kind of like got right into it, but this book has a pretty high rating on both Goodreads and Amazon. It has a 4.35 on Goodreads and a 4.7 on Amazon.
Well deserved.
The Real Book Spy says, True Believer, the highly anticipated new thriller from Jack Carr is one of the year's hottest thrillers and a perfect fit for fans of Vince Flynn, Brad Thor, and Daniel Silva. I would agree with that, but I also say like it's we've sort of highlighted the differences that
it's own.
Jack is sort of it's its own thing. He's following the footsteps of all these great authors, but he's definitely carving out his own path, and the 3 books that I've read so far, I've highly enjoyed. So we got to do Savage Son.
Got to do Savage Son. Yeah, a lot of people put that at the top of their list. I think it was Jack's favorite to write. I don't remember it all that well.
He talks of Savage Son a lot.
Yeah. I remember liking a lot of things about it. The Most Dangerous Game connections. So we'll see. Hopefully next month we could do it. See how it holds up to these 2.
All right. Give me your action, Mike.
Action I went a little lower on. I was going to go as low as an 8 out of 10. Just, it wasn't the strong point of this book. And I will tell you, it didn't need to be. So I would have been happy with an 8. I think that would have been right. But I bumped it to an 8.5 just because the action we did have was really good. It was great, and we didn't need a lot of it. So I didn't want an 8 to look bad because an 8 wasn't bad. It was not a book that required it. So I went 8.5 just to make up for that. And a 10 on plot. Just the way this thing was crafted, we talked about it. A perfect 10 to me of storytelling. So what'd you say?
Yeah, no, this gets a 10 on plot, like hands down. It's well crafted, well executed. I went 8 on action because, the action we do get is very good, but it was just light, and that's the only thing I can ding it against. So I'm dinging it 2 points for that. But whatever we did get, whether it be in a little bit we got in Africa, the various scenes, I guess even like the action we got with the attacks was cool and interesting, and then obviously the action at the very end culminated with the attack or the takedown of the snipers was very cool. So
that Christmas market scene. We didn't talk about it a lot, but that's jaw-dropping way to open a book. Like
crazy,
jaw-dropping.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like pure chaos. When an action movie just hits you over the head with something so devastating, that's what that was.
It reminds me, I don't know, you play Call of Duty, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever do the careers?
Nah, not really.
No, yeah, you only did the... Yeah, see,
I do the multiplayer.
I play Call of Duty, but I like the multiplayer, but I really enjoy, I'm a Legend of Zelda, Pokemon type guy, so I love the careers. And I forget which one it is. Maybe Modern Warfare 2. But there's like an opening scene where the little, movie is you're like following this girl through like Paris. And like, you like, what the hell is going on? Like these kids are playing, and the next thing you know, this like truck pulls up. And then boom, there's a fucking nuclear attack. And it's fucking insane for like the opening of a video game.
Jeez.
And like this scene reminded me of that. It was just like, wow, this is where we're going.
There's even a line when Freddy relays all this to James. James is like, I'm surprised things like that don't happen more often. And to me, that's Jack's voice saying, we're on the verge of this happening any day. And like these terrorist cells could hit us like that at any moment. So
right.
That's how I interpreted that line. Yeah. All right. What'd you give to Buy-In?
Yeah, Buy-In, I gave it a 4.5. I wanted to go 5, but I had like 2 nitpicks. So that's why I'm dinging it at half a point. I'm pulling the half card here. The nitpick, again, the Novichok thing, like
sure.
It was kind of unnecessary, and it was just how well executed the rest of the book was. I felt like that whole ending part of it was just so rushed.
Okay.
Like, when you read something, I feel like this happened multiple times in both the novels we read for Vince, Kyle, and Brad, where like you'll read a chapter and the pacing of the chapter is so fast that it almost just doesn't make sense.
Sure.
Like I felt like that's what was happening here. And so maybe if we did quarter points, I would go 4.75, but we agreed only half points, so I'm going 4.5 for Buy-In. But the rest of the thing, I freaking bought it and I loved it. So
this is a book that I would agree that you could split hairs over with finer points like that. So yeah, I just gave it that 5. I 100% agree that final scene was just a little rushed. The gas thing didn't need to happen. But none of those moments were enough to take me out of the story. None of them at any point kind of wanted me to stop reading or roll my eyes. I think they're only things I think of after the fact, really digesting it, looking back. I think on my 3rd reread now. So those nitpicks were definitely not enough as I read any of the 3 times to take me out of the story. They're only like later reflection things. So I gave it the 5. 5 out of 5 on the Buy-In.
Yeah, the one other small thing that I did, and I literally thought about it as I was reading it, was just the idea that James will be allowed back in immediately, and obviously that has to happen, in order for this story to go forward, something has to happen like that. But it made me pause for a second, so that's why I'm digging it, just to justify my half point.
He's the only one who worked with Mo, who knew Mo and Mo would trust.
No, yeah, that's what saves it,
Yeah.
So.
All right, good guys, bad guys. How'd you like the characters?
So initially I gave the bad guys a 3, but through the course of our conversation, maybe it's because I read it when I was doing it. I did it today, and I finished this novel like 2-3 weeks ago for the second time, and I kind of forgot about them. But when we're over the course of talking about them, again, super fleshed out. So I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah,
final rating. I think, there's maybe a few things you can nitpick with. I felt like Nazar could have been fleshed out a little bit more, and obviously that's a tendril that Jack explores later on. So you could see he's closing the book on that.
Yep.
But, we mentioned Landry and Gray and, and Drenov. Like, they were pretty good bad guys. And I don't know, I like them. So we went pretty high on them. And then the good guys in the story. Freaking Freddie Gray makes it a 5. And then
Absolutely.
like Rich Hastings, like if I could give it a 5.5, I would give it a 5.5 because of Rich Hastings.
Hell yeah.
So, it's got to be a 5 for the good guys.
100%. Yeah, I'm similar. 4.5 on the bad guys. I think they're bad guys who, upon reread and upon knowing what comes in later books, and particularly in The Blood, makes it even better. Nizar-Katan, Andrenov, Oliver Gray, knowing these backstories, all the connection to the current world, it just raises it even more. So I'd agree. The first time I read it, I might have left with the bad guys in like a 3.5, but I went 4.5. Love them. And the good guys, 5 out of 5. Can't argue that. It's fantastic. Even the little ones like Solomon and Gona and the other professional hunters on the hunting squad.
Right.
Everybody is just awesome. And then Freddie Strain and Freddie's family is perfect. Setting, I'm going 5 out of 5. I think you are too, because the boat, man, when we're on the boat, you could feel the tempest, and you could feel James's scraggly beard and the itch from not showering in the salt water. Everything's described so vividly. Same thing happens in Africa. The game reserve, the wildlife. At one point when they get really close to a sleeping elephant and then back away, and James is all giddy and excited, gets this rush of adrenaline. You kind of felt like you were there with them on safari. So 5 out of 5 on setting. I think the weakest one would have been the tunnels underneath the summit in Odessa, or maybe the way the ship is docked and where the summit is taking place and the rooftops with the snipers. But it's all good enough to keep that 5 out of 5 for me.
Literally, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like, the beginning of this novel makes it a 5.
Yes.
Being on the ship, the descriptions in Africa, make it a 5 out of 5. I don't even care about how we were literally, like, we don't get much description on like where he goes. Like, it's very minimal. I mean, like, he goes here, goes here, whatever. Because they're in. Where is Landry actually? Like in Afghanistan or like in Iraq? And somewhere in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Iraq, because I know Mo was operating in Iraq. I'm not sure.
Right. So,
and then the Christmas market attacks. Everything.
Doesn't even, no, the setting's a 5 out of 5.
Everything, yeah. Covers?
Yeah, so, we kind of brought this up with Terminal List. The covers for, we're not a huge fan of the covers for the Jack Carr novels. I think it was a similar thing with the In the Blood covers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm not a huge fan of having a dude on a cover. Having a guy, especially like a guy that like looks like a. Although you pulled a freaking wild card on the last novel with Blowback.
There wasn't a face though. I think it's the.
Oh, it wasn't a face.
There wasn't a face.
Yeah.
It's a face.
I think it's because I have, and maybe other readers have, images of what you think of James Reece,
an imagination.
And if that face doesn't line up with who you think it is, a la. Choosing our Mitch Rapp for Dylan
O'Brien.
What's his name? O'Brien. Like, that could make someone mad. And I don't know. So, and what is this supposed to be? What city is this supposed to be in cover A?
Honestly, I don't even know. Is it Odessa? Is it actually? It
looks
Russia. Is it Moscow?
It looks Eastern European.
I don't think so.
I guess it could be Odessa.
There's that thing on the right, that spiral thing on the right. Yeah, I don't know.
Eastern European.
I'm not all that interested, though, to be honest.
No, and so, like, a lot of the other ones are very similar, right? Like, they're just not... Mm-hmm. What is C even doing, He's in a desert.
C is being cover C.
Like...
That face
that'd be cool
is
if they had, like...
James Reece. It's just not.
No, that looks like freaking... Bucky Barnes. I don't know.
It really does. Yeah, it does. Where's his bionic arm?
Also, like, it looks like he's in like Arizona, not in Africa. Like, if you were trying to go for like an Africa theme, like that's one thing.
But I don't know why.
This looks like a desert.
Dude, there's two things you have to put on a cover, and none of these have it: a fucking sailboat and the African jungle. Like, honestly, how are neither of those on a cover? Let's be real.
Yeah, I think whatever city is in A is also in D and E, just from like a different angle.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess that that's Odessa. Honestly, my favorite cover is gonna be cover B, just because I kind of like this explosion.
Same.
With the American flag, like even though the explosions don't happen in America, they happen in Europe. Yeah, I wanted to go 1. But I'm loving this novel too much that, like, I think the plot is like driving my love of the covers up a little bit, so I gave it a 2.
I gave it a 2 out of 5. Yeah, I think that was generous. If I'm being honest,
it's very generous.
I probably could have went to a 1.5. I do like the schematics of B, because Terminalist had the same thing, and I believe these are the paperbacks. I don't know. I like these different panels. These vertical panels. At least they kept that up throughout all of the books on their paperbacks, so that's kind of cool.
No, I have to say, like, I do like A minus the dude. Like, I actually, and the same goes for the Terminalist. So the original cover, I like the letter blocking. I like the color scheme.
True.
Like, if you just got rid of the dude, like, if you got rid of the dude, that's a decent cover.
Yeah, the cityscape is not great. I usually like a landmark or a geographic feature on the cover, but this one just falls a little flat. So, yeah, the colors, the letter blocking. What would be
your ideal cover for this novel?
Okay, for this novel, it would be...
We don't do this often. We don't come up with covers, so...
It would be a split screen. Like, I don't know if you do it diagonally. I don't know if you do it top-bottom. Or maybe panels like a B, and in one panel it's a sailboat getting just thrown in the waves. And in another one it's just a Jeep in the rainforest. Or I guess I wonder if they had a Land Cruiser, I don't remember, but whatever they were using to get around the forest.
No, that'd be great. You should be a freaking cover artist.
I mean, visually those are two kind of strange things to put on a cover, so I don't know if they would work, but if it's judging a cover by the book, that's what it's got to be.
Yeah. No.
Here's what saves the point, though. The Bulgarian version, D, I translated that name, and it's The Company. I thought that was a kind of cool title for the first half of this book.
I feel like that's some sort of code name for something in the ops world. Anyways.
I was just thinking the company that he finds in Freddie Strain and Rich Hastings and Solomon and crew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where I went with that.
I was thinking of it as more of a...
Operation side.
Yeah, operation side, like a acronym or whatever for something in operations. But no, that's a cool name.
You.
And so what is E? E is just the...
Same one. Oh, E was a large print format library version. I don't even know if it's very common.
Okay.
Yeah, same one as the Bulgarian. Anyway.
Do you think it's the same dude between D and E and A? And who is this dude? Do they take a picture of him? Is he a completely CGI or is it an actual dude?
I don't know, man.
So we had this argument about whether or not the same dude is present in Terminalist, True Believer, and then In the Blood. Because I thought he looked different from In the Blood. But I mean,
the same guy's Terminalist.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I think it is.
Yeah, this one does. True Believer, between True Believer and Terminalist, it looks the same. That's a question we need to ask Jack next time we talk to him.
Yeah.
Is the guy on the cover the same?
Is it the same model and or graphic representation?
Or if he's even if he's not real, know.
Yeah, it looks the same, dude, to Terminalist. Look at that nose. Look at those lips.
Yeah, no, I believe, but if you look at In the Blood, it looks a little bit different. Maybe that's because he's a sniper. He's trying to disguise himself. But
or maybe the lips do look a little different. All right, this is too much.
Too much.
The best way to spend my time. All right, what's the free space?
All right, so my free space. So I'm seeing what your free space is here on a Google Doc, and you stole mine. So I'll come up with a different one. And I already said it. It's got to be Freddie Strain. I think he's a great side character. Unfortunately, he's only going to be in this novel. Well, in the literal form. He comes back in ghost form, obviously. But I don't know, just his progression, his story is well fleshed out. Yeah, and I just, I really connected with him as this secondary character. I would have loved to seen more, but I appreciated that he was here and he was, executed well in this novel. So Freddie's my free space, my winner.
A sip of Basil Hayden's to Freddie, his favorite drink.
I know, I was drinking on some whiskey tonight, but I didn't have Basil Hayden, so.
Gotcha. I hope you toasted to the lads. Rich Hastings toast, all right.
To the lads.
So my free space, the one you wanted as well, is Africa. Everything Africa.
No, that's the real winner.
From the sailboat to landing in Mozambique, to chartering that flight, to getting to the ranch, to meeting the professional hunters, to finding new purpose, building a team, using your skills. Fantastic. Everything about it. Perfectly done. Love the first third of this book, which I think, unfortunately, is something a lot of people don't like about this book, how much time is spent there. But
wow, I'm kind of surprised about that. I didn't know that going in.
I just feel like I've seen a lot of comments about that. So I loved it. 5 out of 5. Bringing my total to a very strong 45 points out of 50. It deserves it. I think that's 2 points lower than my Terminalist score, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you had a 47.
Yeah, but these are 2 of the highest we've rated on the entire podcast so far.
Yeah. All right, and mine's a 44. I'm a half point lower than what I gave to Terminalist. So, okay. It's right there, guys. It's right there.
Not much of a gap. Yep.
Oh, Mike, before we wrap up, I have to tell you, and it's prescient because we're talking about a Jack Carr novel, James Reece. This weekend I was at Hershey Park. I was at a hotel, and they had free breakfast, and I go to get coffee. I get my coffee. There's cream, and then I go to grab like a lid, and I see 2 different packets of honey.
Oh, yes.
So I don't normally drink my coffee with sugar. I drink it with milk, cream, half and half, whatever, oat milk. I don't know. I just want to. Essentially, I want the milk there to cool it down.
Whatever's really there. Yeah.
But I was like, all right, we're going to be doing this novel. I feel like I want to try this. I want to see what it's cracked up to be. So I put a packet of honey in with my cream. And I have to say, every time I read it, like, because he brings it up a lot, it's
you cringed.
I cringed that like every time he brings it up because it's like a trope, whatever. But it's damn tasty. It's different than sugar. It's like it was so good. I was surprised at how good it was because I was afraid it was going to taste like honey. Because right. I like honey, but I wasn't thinking that I would like honey and coffee together.
Yeah.
But it was good.
You inspired me. When you texted that out in the group chat for the patrons, and Mark chimed in that he just did honey in his coffee, I was like, all right, I got to do it. So I got my espresso machine out. Since I wasn't making drip coffee, I made a shot of espresso, mixed in a little dollop of honey, a splash of cream, and I'm right there with you. I was skeptical. Don't knock it till you try it because, man, I was pretty good. And I don't like sweet coffee drinks, like lattes, frappes, and all this crazy stuff, and triple shots of blah, blah, blah. I usually don't like that. But the honey did something different. Yeah, it was unique. It was a nice little twist. It was mellow.
It was like being sweet, but without being too sweet,
Right. It was good balance. So, when this episode comes out, I'll post or I did post already, my video making my little espresso. And I got to tell you about the poll. I asked, do we call it a car espresso or an espresso? Espresso.
Okay. I like what you did there.
Which one do you vote for? Carspresso or espresso?
Espresso.
Oh, okay. Well, 80% of people went for the Carspresso.
Oh, okay.
You're part of the 20% that went espresso.
I'm part of the 20%. Yeah. Look at me. Always being different.
Yeah, I like the Carspresso. So I might be making the Carspresso again this weekend. Who knows?
It's a nice change up. Like every now and then I do like randomly put sugar in my coffee just because, I don't know, I want something different. But I don't know. I was just randomly, I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I was just, packets of honey. I don't normally have honey like with next to my coffee, but I was at this hotel. They had packets there. I was like, well, I'm going to try it. And I wasn't disappointed. If it tasted bad, I probably wouldn't have texted you at all. But I did it and it was good. So
it delivered.
Now I have a little report for the pod.
Mr. Carr, we tip our hats to you, not only for a fantastic book, but being the inspiration of the newly invented Carspresso.
Carspresso. Go to Starbucks and order a Carspresso and have them look at you weird.
And then yell at them that they don't understand what I mean.
My name is not James Reece.
Excuse me, what's your name, sir? Reece. James Reece.
That's funny. All right. Next time we convene on this pod, I don't quite know what we're going to be talking about. What are we talking about?
That's a good question, because we're going to be busy on the Mitch Rapp Podcast covering Oath of Loyalty.
Yeah, we got Mitch Rapp Pod. We got Takedown.
We're doing Takedown on the Scot Harvath, Brad Thor podcast. I don't know. We might not be back here for a little bit. Let's do Savage Son then. What do you say? It might be a month or so, but it might take us a bit.
Definitely would like to do Savage Son, and definitely would like to follow up with the what is it? On Contract? What's the second?
On Target. Mark Graney.
On Target.
Yep.
Mark Graney. So, yeah, look up for either one of those. But if we're a little bit dormant on this feed, definitely go check us out on our other two feeds. Mitch Rapp Pod coming back to life with Mitch Rapp 21?
22?
Right? 22. No,
22,
21
think,
was last year. 22. Intrigued about this one. That's all I have to say. I've been trying to stay away from the spoilers because some of the ambassadors have,
a little texty.
A little texty, a little more sherry than I wanted, but we don't always agree. We don't always agree with the ambassadors.
That's true. Or the crowd at large. We very often blaze our own path with our own ideas. So
yes,
for better or for worse.
Yes. So, and then obviously check out our season 2 Scot Harvath podcast. We'll be ticking on with that one. All right, we need to thank our patrons, including our special operator, Sherry F., our special agents, Daryl, Kevin, George, Matt, Dawn, Dennis, Peggy, Catherine, Ray, Bridget, Jeff, and Mark. Please subscribe, rate, and review using your favorite podcasting platform. You can find us online at thrillerpod.com or on Twitter and Instagram at thrillerpodcast. And as always, to the lads.
To the lads.
To the lads. Dude, Ray Porter, we didn't mention this, but Ray Porter, what a voice actor. I don't know. I don't know if I would like him reading Brad Thor or
Mitch Rapp.
But he's so good at the Jack Carr stuff.
Absolutely. And I heard Jack talk about this, and it was funny because Jack said in an interview, one of the first voice recordings or options he was given, someone that they really wanted to land, sounded too much like an old man.
George.
And, well, that's what I thought. And he just didn't think that would fit his character, who was on the younger side, just had a young family. And I 100% agree. I don't think George Goodell would have been a great fit for these books. But Ray Porter, I think it just really works for this series.